Yo, 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 yo. What is up, y'all? This is Thor Love and Blunders, Love and Thunder, and Miss Marvel Review.
Yes, it is.
I am DOZ101. With me, as always, is
GR81.
And let's get into it. What do you want to start with?
We can start with Thor.
All right. I thought it was all right, actually, for a movie.
Yeah, it's a little too quick in pace.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of went too fast with Jane's storyline because there's more than that there.
Yeah.
I think, anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that they actually did a good job wrapping up Jane Foster's arc. Spoiler alert. But
but I think they just moved too quick on it.
They could have. The pacing could have been better.
They could have explored a little bit and kind of went into like how she was worthy, if she was worthy at all, because they kind of glanced over that. I'm
just going to go ahead and tell y'all now, we probably will be spoiling the heck out of this. So if you're here, and you haven't seen it, don't know what to tell you. But I thought I didn't like how they made Thor kind of like an idiot at times. Like he was funny the first couple times that they did it, but it felt like Thor was just kind of there.
Yeah, like he was, I don't know, too goofy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt like Thor was just there, and I thought that Natalie Portman did a fantastic job. I thought that the relationship with Thor and his hammers was hilarious. At least the first couple times that they
kind of made the hammer and the Stormbreaker, a sentient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kitty's here.
Yeah, I got Happy in the frame now.
Mm-hmm. And she's out. All right. But yeah, let's get into it. Overall, I thought that this is honestly, it was one of the more alright Marvel movies. I wouldn't go so far as to say like it's one of the best ones I've seen, because I'm going to be honest with you, Phase 4, outside of No Way Home and WandaVision, I haven't really been wowed so far.
Yeah. I mean, the one good thing about the movie is Christian Bale as Gore. He did a fantastic job.
Yes.
I liked him.
He kind of reminded me of Kratos. He looked kind of like skinnier. He looked like a skinny Kratos.
They did the best they could, even though he was a little bit more alien-like in the comics versus in the movie, but still.
Yeah. But, okay, let's break this down.
Yeah.
All right, start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What do you mean?
Well, yeah. We're going all over the place.
Yeah, we're kind of going over the place. So the movie starts out with Thor trying to figure himself out, losing weight, trying to figure out who he wants to be, who he wants to be, and kind of with him and the Guardians of the Galaxy. There's not too much in the movie because obviously Guardians 3 is coming out.
Yeah, they've got to do the Christmas special first. But yeah, Thor, he and Thor's trying to figure out like, okay, what do I want out of this life? And Quail tells him like, yeah, dude, you got to find someone that's going to make you feel kind of shitty, like. That's how I feel about
find something that'll make you feel that feeling instead of feeling nothing at all.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, the funny thing is like throughout their dialogue, like he looks at Quill and then he like looks past him and he looks back at him.
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, obviously it's a good thing that the Guardians didn't really like take over the film, because they're obviously, like you said, setting up for Guardians 3. The Christmas special's coming first.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they depart, and then meanwhile, Jane Foster.
They show her battling stage 4 cancer, and she's trying to figure out a way to beat it. And she looks, and she kind of glances over at a stack of books that she has, and one of them happens to be Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
And she flips over to an image of a Mjolnir.
Yeah, and goes to Asgard.
Goes to New Asgard.
Asgard, yeah.
You start to see the chunks of the hammer and the handle start shaking when she's near it. It's like, yeah, okay, but they didn't really, that thing they kind of skipped over is they didn't really go into why she was worthy. In the comics, they did.
They did this great arc of like how
they kind of say, hey, this is why she's worthy.
Mm-hmm. Instead, they just kind of fast-tracked it. That's kind of my biggest complaint about this movie, is that the pacing at times just felt kind of all over the place.
It's like the studio or whoever just said, we don't want an obscenely long movie, even though that's kind of what movies are these days.
Mm-hmm.
So everything seemed kind of thrown in there. And then they I believe they cut from Jane to Gore, where he's walking in this desert with his child, and they're looking for food. They're starving, and his child, spoiler alert, passed away. Of course, that's not really a spoiler if you've read the comic, but.
Mm-hmm.
And
he,
then
he basically denounces God like he's
he
yeah.
You know, at first prays to his God,
Mm-hmm.
and then he stumbles onto this little patch of oasis and finds his God, and his God more or less says he
Doesn't
two
really care.
shits about him.
Yeah.
And he denounces God and obtains the Black the Negro sword,
Mm-hmm.
and proceeds to kill him.
Yeah, and you know, Gore goes on a path of destruction and evil and darkness and all that kind of stuff, and
Yep, and he finds his way to New Asgard on Earth, where Thor shows up, and then you also see Lady Thor, or Mighty Thor, as she wants to be called,
yeah,
Jane Foster.
yeah, and Thor, you know, he starts to flirt with Mjolnir, like, "Hey, it's good to see you. How you doing?" And then Stormbreaker comes up behind him, and he's like,
What?
"Yeah, what? I was just saying hi to Mjolnir. There's nothing wrong."
It was
with
a little goofy. It was
Yeah.
okay, but
It was kind of cheesy.
yeah,
kind of cheesy, kind of campy. But I thought that, you know, Christian Bale did a fantastic job as, you know,
it's Gore.
as Gore. And, yeah, the plot with the kids, I kind of was like,
You know, it's
okay.
your kind of, take the kids hostage, you draw the good guy in kind of plot, but he needed Stormbreaker to unlock to use the Bifrost to unlock
The gateway somehow.
the gateway to an almighty God. I probably should know who it is. I mean, I think I might know who it is, but I don't really want to say and make myself look stupid.
Right.
We'll let y'all figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, well, I mean, he needed that, and then he starts to unlock it, and then Thor finds the kids with. Oh, actually, before that, we kind of skipped a bunch of stuff. They wanted to once Thor met up with Jane and Valkyrie. They were going to try and find an army, so they went to where all the gods are hiding. You know, including your Greek gods, Zeus and all them, and they just kind of laughed in their face because they're too damn scared.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it kind of leads to an impromptu fight of Thor basically
Zeus.
fighting Zeus and his kingdom and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, I mean, he ends up taking the lightning bolt, Zeus's weapon or his power. Like, I don't know.
And he impales Zeus basically, which is kind of what he did. He kind of impales him with his own weapon.
And then you see them trying to figure out a plan to go find Gore, which they kind of did, but it was a trap because he needed. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
Stormbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
They need Stormbreaker, and he did end up eventually getting it. And meanwhile, the Mjolnir is just it's not allowing Jane's body to heal because it is. I guess the way they did it was I don't know.
Wasn't she like already kind of too far gone with the cancer though, sort of?
But in the comics, yes, in the way the comics, she does eventually die from it, but it was kind of keeping her from getting worse.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of slowing down the progression.
She did get worse.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, okay. I mean, you're trying to just kind of make it.
Yeah.
Shorten it a bit. I guess that's if you have to go that way, whatever. But it was kind of sucking her. It was
life force away.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. And Thor eventually tells her, "We may be skipping over a bunch of stuff. You know, forgive us. It's going to happen." But you know, yeah. Thor eventually will tell her like, every time you pick up this hammer, every time you go to fight, you're weakening. You're
letting the cancer win,
mm-hmm.
which I guess, but
yeah,
you know, the reason she was drawn to Mjolnir because she thought that it would cure her cancer.
Yeah, but it doesn't turn out to be that way.
It was just kind of stopping it while she was the mighty Thor, I guess you could say, just temporarily.
Mm-hmm. And then Thor, he does the trick a couple times throughout the movie with the kids where he can.
Oh yeah, he kind of endows them with a bit of his power
to
allow them to fight these shadow monsters that Gore can summon up, which was kind of cool. I like that a little bit.
Yeah, I liked it.
There's a little bit of a badassness to the kids, which was cool. And while that's happening, Thor is trying to fight Gore and prevent him and stop Stormbreaker from opening the seal, I guess is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously he fails. Sorry,
Yeah.
spoiler alert.
But eventually, what ends up happening, just because I don't know how much time we have, because we also got Miss Marvel to
we
talk
got
about.
time.
But okay, so pretty much what happens is Thor and the Gateway and everything all opens up, and then he's like, "I just want my daughter back," and he's like, "Dude, here's the thing. I'm gonna spend my Jane's last moments with her, and you do what you do."
It's like, yeah, you use your wish, but he's like, the one thing that we all want is love.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you have the opportunity to get your daughter back.
Yeah.
Think about that instead of using your wish to kill all gods,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But and then all in all, he ends up using his wish to bring his daughter back. But
Yeah.
kind of the same thing happened to Gore that happened to Jane. Is that the Necrosword was also what gave him his power was also killing him.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up coming to him, but he asked Thor to take care of his daughter, and he agreed.
Yeah, and then Thor teaches her how to fight, essentially. And then what happens in the post credits?
There's a post-credit scene. You see Jane end up being in Valhalla, and you see Heimdall there too, kind of welcoming her into Valhalla. I'm not sure where that's supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't quite gotten that far in the comics, I guess. But I'd be interested to see what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, if they bring Natalie Portman back, because I think I remember hearing her say that I think she wants to be done with it. I don't think she wants to come back in the MCU.
I mean, you could. Yeah, I guess you could. If she wants to end it, you can end it. I mean, it wasn't a very long
Arc
arc in the comics. It was a newer comic, and I don't think it was like a not one issue, but like a run, but not very many issues or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of would have liked them to see what they did in the comic, which was more of a multi, since they already have the multiverse, which was it kind of looked like a few different Thors from a few different timelines defeat Gore, but you can only do so much with what you got. And
Yeah,
it was okay for what it was worth.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, honestly, yeah, like I said, I have to be honest, and I know this will piss people off. I really haven't been impressed that much with the MCU lately so far in Phase 4, if I'm being honest.
I think the one that I like the most so far, the ones we've seen, is probably the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
It just seemed a little bit, I don't know, like they tried to do a little bit more with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you already have 4 Thors, and you're trying to wrap it up, and I mean, Chris Evans wants to keep coming back. That's cool, but you can move on.
Yeah, I think Chris Evans has said that he wants to be done as Captain America. Like
he is done. He's
pretty much confirmed. He's like, look, guys, I appreciate that you want me back, but it's Anthony Mackie's role now. Like, let him have it. And, where are we going to go with Phase 4, I wonder? Because I know we're going to get into this. I know the X-Men are coming. I know we're going to get the West Coast Avengers. I know we're going to get Ironheart, Echo, and a bunch of others. But thus far,
I think you could start with the new Avengers or the Young Avengers or something like that, where you can just bring in another set.
Yeah.
And I know keep going on from there.
And I know people too are asking about Tony Stark coming back. Tony, I think the only way we're going to get Tony going forward is in cameo form. I would like to see him in the Illuminati because he was in the Illuminati.
Multiverse. You could kind of bring him back that way.
Yeah, but
if you're going to do that, you might do like everybody else has been saying, and I kind of agree with him. You see if you can get Tom Cruise, because I can see him being kind of an alternate cool version of Tony Stark.
Yeah,
be awesome.
Yeah, because I don't know if Downey Jr. is going to be back.
I don't know. Maybe I hear he might appear in a few episodes of one of the series you're doing as a flashback or something. I'm not totally sure about that. But
I think it's going to be Ironheart, because Ironheart centers around Tony's technology.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And kind of how it came to
anyway.
be. But overall, Thor, it was all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it 7 out of 10, 6 or 7.
I'd give it a 6 or a 7.
High 6, low 7. It was okay, and I kind of agree with the critics on their score.
Yeah,
which is right around 75. That's
where
I would rate it, because it wasn't the best Thor. I think the best Thor by far was Ragnarok. That was like your peak. And
Ragnarok, I kind of consider not only a Thor movie, but I kind of also consider an Incredible Hulk movie.
The Planet Hulk. Yeah. They did a lot there. That's one thing they need to do, kind of off topic, is do a solo Hulk, since now that I believe they have his work. the property rights to them, they could do that. And I know Mark Ruffalo really wants one, and you could do that.
You think we're going to get World War Hulk eventually? I do.
I think that would be cool. You could do something like that since you've already done sort of the Planet Hulk, and then goes from there back to World War Hulk, where he ends up back on Earth, kind of like he did, but he's pissed off. Because, I mean,
I think it's time we end Smart Hulk. I'm not gonna lie.
It's supposed to be Professor Hulk,
but yeah, people call him Smart Hulk.
They kind of did him dirty.
Yeah,
because Hulk is so much more powerful than they let him on to be, and they need to do more with him.
Yeah. Okay, so Thor overall, it was all right. Miss Marvel, it started off great.
Yeah, I mean,
what were you doing, Disney?
It was okay. I think we're going to give our critiques real quick, and then we'll go through what happened.
Yeah.
I think they didn't necessarily need to go do their whole
spoilers, but
background and history of who she is and where she came from. I haven't really seen the comics, but what I've kind of put together is they didn't really do that in the comics. But they did say, hey, this is the character, this is who she is, this is her name, this is where she's from. And that's at least let you know that they're trying to be diverse. But I don't think you really needed to go and focus on that.
Yeah.
Because, spoiler alerts, the Bengal, I don't know why they thought, let's go that route when you could easily do something like, because her powers are more or less similar to Reed Richards' powers.
And I think we're going to go on a little...
She's stretchy, she can... And when her fists or her feet get bigger, they actually increase in mass and density. But I don't know why they went this way. It wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
I just kind of wish they would stay a little bit more true to the comic as far as her backstory.
And I think we're going to go on a little bit of a rant here because I've got something against Disney.
Yeah.
Okay. The Enhanced. They're mutants.
They're not mutants.
They're mutants.
No. They're not mutants. They're inhuman.
Okay, well,
because
some are mutants, but some are inhuman.
But in this case, they're inhuman.
I don't want to hear the word enhanced, because I know Disney has to, work around this. Oh, we can't call them mutants.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
you can. They have the freaking rights.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's like, we can't call them mutants. Bullshit.
And you can call them inhumans. I know Disney was trying to do something like that, and they actually came out with the new mutants, but they also were going to do an inhuman thing. Actually, they did. It could have done better. Yeah. It didn't really work out, but she's an inhuman.
Yeah, she's inhuman.
She wasn't born with this mutation. It occurred something similar, if I believe, like in DC with how Flash got his. It was later, after, down the line.
And yes, guys, we know the X-Men are coming. Calm down. You got to build it up. I mean, I can understand we haven't had any big epics, but you can't just give the X-Men, you can't just bring the X-Men all out together all at one time, like, oh my God, here they are. It doesn't work like that.
So the series starts off with Kamala Khan and her friend, I believe his name's Bruno, right? Bruno. Her best friend, Bruno. And they're like in high school, obviously, which makes sense. And they're getting ready for this
Avenger-style Comic-Con.
It's called Avenger Con. It's like a little Comic-Con put together by the community for the Avengers, and they're doing a costume contest who has the best Captain Marvel costume, and she's getting ready, and Bruno says, well, why don't you throw a little something from
your collection or closet or whatever,
a little bit of your, I guess, ancestry into it. And she gets this package from her grandmother that contains a bangle. Her mom's not too thrilled about it because I guess there's some issues there, but we'll
get into that.
Yeah. So when she does eventually get it, and she puts it on, and she experiences this kind of momentary
like flashback or dimensional type of
like
thing.
Shift.
Yeah.
And then back to reality. And now she has like these powers that are similar to what she has in the comic book, but not quite, because she never really had the bangle. But like I said,
you can't follow the comics all the way.
That part you could, in my opinion, because
Disney's incapable.
CGI has gotten so much better, and you've already using it with the bangle. Why not just go all the way and make her who she is?
And I am going to give this little critique too, speaking of AvengerCon. Have you ever noticed in the series that we don't see any one of these like crossover with each other? Like, you don't see WandaVision crossover, you don't see, like Miss Marvel and She-Hulk crossover, like these Disney Plus shows.
But
don't.
you might.
Yeah, these Disney...
I think they're trying to right now they're working on like a kind of a big thing like they did with Infinity. Sorry, I want to call it Infinity Gauntlet, which should have been called Endgame.
Yeah.
Where they do a big kind of together of the newer heroes, or something like that. I would imagine because they're trying to. That's what I mean. The multiverse. They're going to bring everything in. I think they will.
I think they will. I'd just like to see like something crossover. Like what would have been cool. Okay, kind of going to the end. What would have been cool is like if Kamala had gotten like thrown in court and She-Hulk had to represent her. That would have been cool for like some continuity kind of thing.
That would have been kind of a nice little crossover, and I mean, I get that.
But you know,
what I would have liked to see, and it would at least have more Hulk in it, is because they kind of, I don't know if that was, they did it in the Avengers video game, and I don't know if that's more related to the comic. Hopefully it is because it seemed a little bit more accurate, where she figures out that she has these powers and she has to go on the run, and she ends up finding Bruce Banner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been kind of cool as well.
Yeah, just some kind of connection, something to the shows.
But anyway, she figures out she got powers, so she's trying to hide it, and they end up nicknaming her Nightlight, which is a freaking stupid name, but whatever.
And I'm dating myself. I would have gone with Light Bright. Yes, I know I'm old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have gone with Light Bright. But yeah, they're like, oh, who's this mystery girl? And anyway, the stage and everything all starts to fall apart around her.
You get this Defense Department group.
The Department of Damage Control.
It is Department of Damage Control, which is a lame ass department. I don't know if it's real. Probably is. Probably isn't. I don't know.
And this is also a critique.
If you're going to make them the villain, come on.
Yeah, and this is also a critique I have. The villains to me seem kind of so inconsistent. Like it was always like, this week Kamala fights this person. This week Kamala fights that person. You know, it's like,
and then the clandestines, which are supposed to be her family's friend, but they're trying to get home, and They didn't really. They kind of did a little bit like they're from a different dimension, not a different universe, but a dimension that's in our universe, just a different dimension.
Yeah.
It just to me didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
And they tried to do the whole kind of try to kind of have her do a flashback where she goes back in time to the what is it called?
She goes back to the partition.
It's an actual partition.
Yeah, she goes back. And we're jumping ahead a few episodes, but to be honest, it's like, okay, the first two episodes were really, really strong. Like the first episode is obviously, you know, she gets the bangle, goes through a flashback, and then has to save the most popular TikTok girl in school. She does, and then the TikTok girl is devoted to, you know, Miss Marvel, essentially speaking. And then episode 2, it's kind of more of the same of like, oh my god, I gotta like figure this out. You know, she goes to like high school and like she thinks she's like hot shit because she's like, yeah, I'm more confident now. You know, yeah, I like you guys as a couple, but you need to get away from my locker. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, she's like the little loner girl in high school, teenager. That's what they're trying to get at.
Yeah,
has the one good friend.
Mm-hmm. And people thought that they were going to make him gay, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were, but they didn't do that.
No,
because it's like normally Disney would do something like that, but they didn't do that with this one. But yeah, she tries to like really figure out more so her powers and that kind of thing in the second episode.
You know, what she can do and things like that. And in the meantime, her best friend Bruno was kind of looking at her DNA and was seeing something's a little different with it. Mm-hmm. We'll get that at the end.
Yeah. But then episode 3 is when it kind of started to fall apart for me.
Well, that was when they started going into her whole, I guess, her racial background, I guess, lack for a better word.
I am going to say, though, that I do like the storyline with the family. Like, I like the family dynamic of the show.
Well, that's okay. At least they, I mean, that works. I just don't think you needed to throw, all that history in there.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, in a roundabout way, I can see why they did it, because it kind of goes in a circle where she realizes she was the one that kind of had the power to begin with, not her grandmother, great-grandmother, I guess, at that point.
But then I think episode 3 is the wedding episode, isn't it? Or it's like
where where the clandestines are, because she did meet up with them, and they tried to kind of convince her to send them back to their dimension,
mm-hmm.
but she was a little bit iffy on it, because the way Bruno was describing is that yes, you could, but the ensuing explosion could be damaging.
Yeah, it could be catastrophe.
On a massive scale.
And here's another thing too. Can we cool it with the world-ending events, please? Like, I know this is random, but I don't need the world to end every time something in Marvel happens. Like, I know they slowed that down with Thor. Thank God they did that. But with Miss Marvel, it's like, oh, you know, what I liked is, like, I like that it started out street level, and then we go, like, oh, the clandestines and the Department of Damage Control and so, only for them to bring it back down to street level. It was like, okay, so it's like a roller coaster. You start off slow, then you go up, and then it was like, eh.
Yeah, and then it kind of went off the tracks after a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, you know, after the we see who the big bad, or I guess two big bads are supposed to be.
Yeah, the big bads.
The clandestine and then damage control. Kind of just, the clandestines didn't really do much except for just chase her.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's like,
and they ended up killing themselves after they tried to go through this rift in like a interdimensional rift, I guess, and it just didn't work right. And then one of the clandestine's son ends up getting powers similar to Kamala. Which
Cameron.
I didn't quite understand that and how it worked.
Yeah, because, like, okay, kind of going back and forth, like, all right, so Cameron, like, he originally tries to stop, you know, Najma, or I cannot pronounce her name.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call her Najma. I know I'm getting it wrong, but I don't care. But anyway, he tries to stop Najma, like, you can't do this. You can't go after Kamala. And she's like, screw that crap. We're going home. I don't want to be here on this planet anymore. We need to get home. And she ends up ultimately leaving him behind.
Yep.
Essentially speaking. And going forward to, you know, that interdimensional portal, whatever it's called, it opens up, and when you touch it, you just vaporize, essentially. Like, you're gone.
Yeah, it's weird. It was like kind of an unstable rift, and it wouldn't let anybody pass.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be wrong. Who knows?
Yeah, it was like,
maybe they might hint that they did get to the other side. Who knows? But anyway.
Yeah, but you touch it, and then like Kamala's like, okay, we have to close this thing. Like, it has to close, because if it doesn't close, it's gonna mess our world up. And Najma just goes into it, and she's like, I'll close it, and she ends up evaporating, but her spirit goes into Cameron, and that's how he got his powers. I thought that was weird, and I'm like, okay, so it kind of started falling apart, and then episode 4, or I think 5, one of those is when she goes back in time, Kamala goes back in time to the partition during that time, and they explain what it is.
And how she eventually did get the power through the gauntlet, the bangle.
Yeah. I like that they actually slowed it down for that episode, because in one of the episodes it was very breakneck pace with all the fighting, and it was hard to digest.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I get you love to do your big fight scenes, Marvel, but at times you got to slow it down too. You can't just go breakneck speed all the time.
And then what is that? What, fourth? What is the fifth episode? It's actually the fifth episode still is kind of at the partition, where it's kind of the end of it, and you're showing how she interacted with her future grandmother, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then she realized that she was the one that had the power all along, and that it just kind of, well, sort of, her great grandmother had it, but her grandmother, something like that. It was a little bit confusing to me. I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, I was like, huh?
Yeah, where are we going with this?
And then she ends up going back to where she was, and the rift is open.
Yeah, and she has the photo, and then, okay, so jumping forward, they end up, going to, the train ends up happening. There's that vision with the train, and then the grandma calls her, and she's
that was before the partition.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so and that's how they end up in, I believe it's Pakistan.
Yeah, so they're in Pakistan, They're in Pakistan, and we're jumping all over the place.
Yeah, well, we kind of just hit on that. That's why they get to
to
where they're fighting again with the clandestines, and she goes back to in time to the partition, and she discovers how she has got her powers. And now we're back current time, and we've already discussed that the rift and all that.
But okay, they come back from Pakistan, and then she's like,
and then meanwhile, her mother's is kind of figuring out who she is.
Yeah, all those
like
stories aren't BS.
She's the one that has the power, and she's the one, the nightlight, I guess they call her.
And the reason why the grandma and the mom didn't get along was because the mom refused to believe all the stories. Like, her mom would spout about.
That's the one thing is at the beginning, her mom was just like very
stone cold kind of.
Yeah, and she was kind of mean, you know, and she got mad because Kamala, defied her and went to super mad and went to this Avenger Con. But then when she found out that she actually had these powers, she was like, okay.
Yeah, it was like.
It was like no big deal. It's like,
yeah, I'm angry at you. You're grounded forever. And then it's like, oh, okay, you got powers, cool, but just don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So basically they find out that she is Night Girl or Light Girl, and I thought it was funny when she was like, it's Light Girl, and then they look at her skin, and it's like, yeah, obviously. She's like, no, you don't understand. I am, Miss Marvel, so to speak, Nightlight. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I hate that name.
And then they're all like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And then, meanwhile, Bruno tries to help Cameron because the DODC is on the hunt for Cameron and his powers. They want him alive.
Yep.
They want to capture him so they can contain all the info.
Yeah, they think these kids are super, super dangerous, and it's like they're super out of touch.
Yeah. Like
very out of touch, which is annoying with these kinds of villains or these groups that Marvel had created. At least the cinematic versions of them, they're just so predictable and stupid and overbearing from time to time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this kid's super dangerous because he has powers, or she has powers. It's like, why don't you actually go talk to the person
and they have
get to know them and see if they're really dangerous instead of assuming something.
And they have that tendency, too, to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, too. But, okay, so Bruno tries to help Cameron, and the running gag is like Cameron can never get Bruno's name right. He always calls him Brian. And the DODC is after him, and there goes Bruno's apartment.
Yeah, it explodes.
It just explodes.
And that, I believe, is the end of episode 5. And then so 6 begins with them still running, and Cameron and Bruno running to try to get out to find a place to kind of take a breath to figure out what they're going to do, and they end up meeting up with Kamala. Well, actually, it cuts to Kamala trying to tell her father and the rest of her family that she is Nightlight or Night Girl, and it turns out her mother already spilled the beans. She's like, really?
Yeah. Every time we talk, we just put your father on speaker and all that kind of stuff, and the whole family already knows anyway, and they've got all these questions. And then Nakia calls, and she's like, you need to come meet up with them, like, right freaking now, because the apartment exploded, and you need to help these guys. What I didn't like about this episode is like, okay, 1 minute she's fighting Cameron, the next minute she's defending him. It's like, that didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's like you didn't know what was, and then like it. So now, and before I get to that part, we're there at the school, and the damage control has figured out where they went, and they surround the school, and they're about to go in, and the head chick, I don't remember her name.
The TikTok girl, I just call her that.
Yeah, I don't even remember her name because it's so unimportant that she was kind of like...
She was just
this bitch. That's all she really was. Excuse the language, but she came off as this like unimportant, like,
just
I have this high
character.
role.
Yeah.
I'm the lead,
I'm the head popular girl.
Yeah.
No one cares. No, I didn't care about that at all.
And so, she gets a call saying, from her boss saying you got to pull out because it's all over the news and we don't want this press like this.
Yeah.
But she defies him and sends more troops in, people in to try to capture him. And then, meanwhile,
Kamala and come up with a plan.
And then also
her brother.
Yeah, and also like you said, not the TikTok chick, but the one that she saved at the beginning of the series is there because she's like, does everybody know?
Yeah.
So they're all trying to, instead of trying to escape, they're
going to combat
make it a diversion.
Yeah.
So that way Cameron and Kamala can escape to, I guess, the pier, so Cameron can escape out of the country.
Yeah, and he can go be with the Red Daggers. That's the name of the group.
Yeah, Red Daggers, which is kind of another secret group, but they're more good guys. They're more the good guys.
Yeah.
Trying to protect the world from the clandestines from overtaking it, which is what they were assuming was going to happen. But
because we forgot to mention that.
But that didn't seem like that was going to happen. They just wanted to get home. So I was like, what is it? They want to get home or they want to take the rollover? It doesn't make sense because it's like one or the other.
Inconsistent.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the words I could give this show.
We're back to the episode 6 where they're, trying to create a distraction with fire extinguishers and music and the fire alarm.
Baseballs. Yeah. And
they're all wearing the same thing so that way they don't know who's who.
Mm-hmm.
And they all eventually get captured except for
Kamala and Cameron.
And they almost kissed, which was they're in the
there's always that running
principal
gag
office.
too.
Yeah, and it's like, are they fighting each other, or what is going on here?
Yeah, are they gonna fight or are they gonna make out? And then like Bruno, he obviously gets all in his feelings. He
kind of sees that they're about to kiss because he comes in and says, "Hey,
we gotta go.
This way's clear. Go that way." And you can kind of see that moment of that hurt on his face, where because I think he really is in love with her, and he was even going to give up Caltech.
Oh yeah, because meantime, this is kind of unimportant. He's going to Caltech.
He's going to give up Caltech to stay with her because that's how much he cares about her.
Yeah,
I think that dynamic, them two, instead of her and Cameron, is better.
Yeah,
they could build on that.
It makes more sense
because you can see there's just more of a connection between the two.
Yeah. But okay, so basically, like everyone but Kamala and Cameron get captured, and then they kind of he starts to freaking rage, out of nowhere. His powers just go, just all out of control. And just as he's about to kill them, Kamala makes her way through with her force field and tells him "Yo, knock it off," kind of thing. She tells him "Oh, you can't do this," kind of thing. And eventually he stops, and he somehow gets burrowed underground. And next thing you know,
well, she punches a hole in the ground because she's like, "There's still time for you to get away. I still want you to get away because I know you're not a bad person.
Yeah,
you just gotta."
You have to learn how to.
You kind of skip this part.
Yeah.
She eventually does tell him that his mom died. Trying to get back to their own dimension, I guess. Which.
Yeah, she didn't have the heart to tell him, but it was kind of like.
Eventually, she had to because it just kind of came up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why he was raging because she was thinking that Kamala killed her mom, but that's not what happened. She was trying to prevent that. But anyway, kind of jumping.
Yeah,
we're missing stuff.
I said we're gonna do that, so yeah, forgive us. But anyway,
so he gets away. She
and then she basically stops damage control from doing whatever they're doing.
She kind of does that. Like the last thing, she kind of does that in bigging, so she grows.
Yeah.
And eventually, the damage control backs out because the boss finds out.
The boss calls him. He's like,
"The head lady.
This is on you. You did this. Like
you were.
We got to
duty.
Yeah. Now we got to clean your shit up.
Yep.
Yeah. Now we got to clean your shit up, and then basically.
And after all that, the community, because they were going to arrest her, they started moving in. But then the community came together and surrounded her and allowed her to get away. So.
Yep.
Because
they realized that she was a hero, and she's one of the good ones.
So then it kind of cuts away after that 2 weeks later, where it's Bruno.
Oh no, we got to talk about the father. This is how she got her name.
Oh yeah, so she ends up back home, and she's sitting on the roof, and her dad comes out, and he kind of goes over how much of a miracle she was because they had
and how she got her
brother.
name.
They were having trouble conceiving again.
Yeah,
and he pretty much says that you are Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm. There's the title. There's the name.
There's the name. I was hoping she'd figure that out on her own.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the uniform too. That was cool.
Yeah, the mom made the uniform, which actually is probably one of the more accurate pieces of this series. With the uniform is accurate.
Yeah.
Minus the scarf being up here, it was actually more around her waist.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the. I'm not sure if that. Yeah, it was around her waist. In the comics, I think.
Yeah.
Her waist. Either way, it was more accurate. Which at least they did. At least I got that right. I kind of skipped that before she had her final battle, but so her dad gives her name, gives her the idea for the name, and then it cuts to 2 weeks later where it's her,
Cameron, or not Cameron, but Bruno and Nakia.
Yeah, and in Cameron's car because he left it behind.
Yeah, he's like, he said I could take it, and they're like, no, you didn't.
And so Bruno's talking to Kamala, and he mentions that she's not like, her DNA is not like the rest of her family.
Mm-hmm.
As there's something different, there's a mutation. And then for some reason they started playing
the X-Men
the cartoon X-Men theme, and I'm like, wait a minute, why? I didn't catch it at first, and then I was like, wait a minute. She's not a mutant, though. She's an Inhuman.
Disney. Damn it.
She wasn't born with it. You know, if you would have said, hey, when she put that gauntlet on, or the bangle, it did something to her genetic makeup, or it changed it a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Then that would be a way into saying, yeah, okay, now she's an inhuman.
Just a tease by Feige to promote the X-Men, because everyone's so fucking impatient.
You've already done it. You did it in Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness by bringing in Xavier. You did it. Yes, it's an alternate universe of him, but it's still, that's your way in.
And I understand we want shit to pick up. I mean, yes, that's our common complaint. Marvel needs to pick it up when it comes to delivering like jaw-dropping moments, because like I said, we haven't had that yet. We haven't had too many of them. And I think, you know, to wrap up the Miss Marvel part and kind of what we want in Phase 4 and 5 and beyond, I think that would be a good segue. You know, basically, they end up going out to Shawarma, which was cool. I thought that was awesome. Like, it's like, we're going to go to Shawarma, yeah! I thought that was awesome.
So after that whole scene with Bruno, they cut to another scene with Cameron in Pakistan meeting up with the what is that?
The guy with the red dragon, yeah, yes. I don't remember his name.
You know, I'm not sure where that's going to go, but I was like, okay. And then they have the end credit scene where Kamala's with her in a room and her bangle starts
vibrating like crazy,
and all of a sudden she just disappears, and you kind of get like this weird.
It was like a swap, like a time swap.
With Carol Danvers, and she's figuring out where the hell she's in. And it sounds like it's either a different universe Danvers, because she picks up a picture of her off because she went through the door, the closet door. She picks up a picture of her, and she's like, what the hell? She's looking around, and she sees all these like
pictures, and she's like,
her,
whoa.
And it's like almost the look on her face is almost like, what the hell? Like she doesn't realize she's this famous, or at least in this universe.
And we don't know where Kamala is.
Yeah, and then it cuts out and says she will be back in the Marvels, which is kind of cool. I'm hoping that's it's Captain Marvel 2, and they're just going to call it the Marvels. I think that's what they're calling it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that's going to go, but it'd be kind of cool to see Maria Rambo again. And
are we kind of excited for it though? Because for a build up, I was like, in
a sense, I want to see if they fix their fuck up.
Yeah.
I want to see if they fix and say, you know, you're not say it's some way around and say, yeah, you're not a mutant, but there's more of an inhuman where you know, something like that, because they've got to kind of correct that, because that was Disney's mess up. She's never a mutant, at least or maybe I'm speaking out of my ass saying that she isn't a mutant, but maybe in another multiverse universe that she is a mutant. Maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe that's why the swap with Carol Danvers made her kind of freak out, because she's like, why does this girl have all my pictures on her wall? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It could be.
Yeah, I'm going to say so far for a build-up, I'm like, they've got to do a better job. They really do, because I'm not hyped yet.
You didn't really need to drag out the whole backstory. You could have wrapped it up in 2 episodes and then doing a little bit more development on the characters throughout the rest of them. If you're doing 6 episodes, hell, if you wanted to do that, make the series 12 episodes, not 6. Because I don't know why these 6-episode runs it's almost like you're trying to cram shit in there.
Just to do it.
I think you do more 12 episodes. That's what I would have done, because you get more out of it. You get more time to explore these characters. Mm-hmm. The backstory, if you wanted to.
If you want to have at least maybe 1 or 2 breakneck pace episodes with fighting, okay, I get that, because you got to have something for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, for a fight scene with a teenage girl who doesn't know exactly how the hell to fight, not bad. But
But so far, I'm not looking forward to it. But okay, let's go into our expectations of the rest of Phase 4 and 5.
I'm hoping it gets better. Really, I am, because right now it's kind of stagnant. It's kind of like, they're seems like they're scared.
Yeah,
don't know why.
This is supposed to be, to me, the Silver Age, because let's be real. If we're taking Feige out of the equation, which I kind of am when it comes to No Way Home, because it's not really his thing, Endgame was the peak when you really stop to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like you said, the golden age of the
MCU.
You can still keep going and do a lot of cool stuff, but I think whoever's writing your scripts and your I forget the name of it, but I think there needs to be some more research done. Actually, go back to the comics and read some of these stories. You know, maybe the one that most people recognize would be better, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when the difference between games and movies. Games tend to go more true to the story.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe it might be easier to write for a game. Who knows?
And for the movies, I think
they kind of try to take a little bit too much liberty.
Yeah.
And try to throw stuff in there and shoehorn crap in there that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really hoping She-Hulk is better because what I've seen with
what I've seen with
trailer,
it looks good. It looks good.
The one thing that bugs the living crap out of me is they made her like skinny.
Yeah.
She's supposed to have.
She's supposed to be
Hulk
jacked.
blood. I mean, not like super jacked, but enough.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to go through the whole comment like, well, people didn't like her super jacked. And I'm like, well, then do a happy medium where you can see that she's built, but not horribly built. Not like like some of these bodybuilders. The thing I don't I mean, yeah, it's cool to see Hulk in there again, but I think you do right.
Are we kind of ready to move on from Phase 1 and 2 and 3? I kind of think we are.
I think you need to. You can do new characters.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch out there you can go with that are popular that you can make popular.
And I forgot to ask, are we done with Thor as a movie franchise? I'm going to probably piss people off and say yes.
I think so. If you wanted to expand it,
yeah,
you could probably put him in with somebody else.
Because I'm kind of done.
Another movie, just say, hey, here he is. This is the end of his line. This is it. We're done.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with Thor. Like, I love Chris Hemsworth. Don't get me wrong.
The way they set it up at the end of Thor is
he's going to
might be another one because he's taking care of this kid. Which, admittedly, I like that scene.
Yeah,
because he seemed the way he played Thor in that particular scene made him seem like Thor is a really good father figure. Mm-hmm. Because he has so much left to give, but no one to give it to, and he finally has somebody he's taking care of that he does truly care about.
I think I know where we're going to go. I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction. Thor will die, and that little girl will end up being the next one to be part of the Avengers, so to speak.
Well, if they're gonna do the Young Avengers way, technically. Thor has a daughter, and this is a way to have that daughter, and she essentially has her own version of Mjolnir, which is a sword. I think you could go that route and do the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
The only issue there is that that's another universe. I guess you could say in that universe, Cap and Black Widow get together and they have a kid, and the only one left from the original Avengers, well, two people. You have the kid of Ant-Man or Giant Man and Wasp, and then you have Hulk, like old Hulk, and you have Tony there because he's trying to mentor these kids. So I mean, you can do that. I think if you really wanted to, go that route. Bring in younger blood.
Yeah, because I think Phase 1, 2, and 3, the Infinity Saga, that right there was the peak. You're never going to see that again.
Yep. And as far as it goes, in bringing the X-Men in,
Take your
fully
time.
on board.
Take your time.
With I think his name is Taron Egerton.
Yeah.
Being Wolverine because he has expressed interest in it, and I think it'd be fine.
And I'm going to go ahead and say this, and this might piss people off. I would wait on Wolverine. I wouldn't just throw him in there.
No, I think you need to do better with. You're getting to the point where you're going to bring the X-Men in, but
yeah, because we know it's coming.
Now, I like the younger versions of the X-Men when they did do them. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why everybody crapped over Apocalypse. I didn't think it was such a bad film, but maybe I'm a little bit biased, and as long as it keeps my butt in the seat and I can watch it, and I don't.
As long as it draws you in, you like it.
Yeah, maybe the part about him, they're not exploring Apocalypse in himself, because they kind of did throw him in there and say this is who he is, and that's how he got some of the powers. Yeah. And then he's ancient, but that was about it. Anyway, off topic.
Yeah, but, we're going to be off topic in this, but
I think the rest from here on out could be good, but you've got to really.
You kind of have to bring everybody in carefully.
You got to do it right, and you should go back to the comics and look at these the way they wrote them and try to do that and focus and stay true to the main fact of these stories. Mm-hmm. How they got their powers, who they are, and I'm not opposed to changing the race of somebody or making somebody black versus white or vice versa. That's fine.
As long as they can act.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't see any reason that should affect anything.
Yeah.
Because right now, as long as they give a good performance and it is received really well, I think they should be fine.
Yeah. I think as far as like, okay, who you get as like Quicksilver, keep him. Evan Peters, that's Quicksilver. He stays.
Yeah, I mean,
some guys you will have to recast. I get it, but there's a few guys
I think you can
around.
bring the X-Men in, and you can keep actors like James McAvoy, excuse me.
Yep.
James McAvoy as Professor X.
McAvoy or Stewart. Damn, these timelines are confusing.
Well, I think you could do it if you want to do another one, and you just keep the younger versions, because that way I think they'll be willing to come back. At least him.
Yeah.
Sophie Turner as Jean Grey, maybe not. I think she might be done with it because they kind of messed that up. Especially, I haven't seen it yet, honestly.
But
Dark
yeah,
Phoenix, because
judging by what people
it just doesn't
said.
seem like it's worth it. I've seen the way they did it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
They kind of messed it up too, like, and that wasn't on Disney. That was on Fox when they did that whole thing. Like, they just completely botched it. Now they could redo it. Now that
please don't fuck up Deadpool. Please don't fuck up Deadpool, Disney. Please don't fuck up Deadpool. That's
well, I did hear that they're not changing the R
rating. Thank God, yeah, because I heard that too. I'm like,
he's
okay,
he's going to stay that way, and it should be good. I'm not sure what they're.
I'm expecting a fuck ton of jabs at Fox. I can already foresee that.
Now you could bring in Lady Death in Deadpool 3, because he did it in the comics. He is in love with her.
I'm surprised you didn't see Lady Death and Thanos, because Thanos always has.
Yeah, the whole reason, at least in the comics, the whole reason Thanos did what he did was he's trying to impress
Death.
Yeah. Not because he thought it was morally right. And it was like, yeah, okay. In the MCU, I understand why they did that, because it gave a little bit more depth to the character. And, I'm going to give all credit where credit's due to Josh Brolin.
He killed it.
He was awesome. He's awesome as both Cable and Thanos. He could do it. He just has that. I don't know.
But okay, let's discuss, Phase 5. Okay, we've got Echo, we've got Ironheart, we've got Fantastic Four, we've got Wakanda.
Yeah, you got a lot of things going on.
Who's the big baddie, though? Because I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Kang should be the next guy. Well, theoretically, yes.
Galactus, they're saying Galactus.
Yeah. I would like to see, I'm going with Cousin Cheeto's idea for Fantastic Four. What if Wanda and Doctor Doom became lovers? That actually could work if they did that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, because it's kind of sad that Wanda's not going to be the big bad. I thought that would have been
cool.
It's
sad, but at the same time, they build her up more as a at the most anti-hero, more as a hero, and then they just said, well, we're going to make her the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they did it was, and that was one thing that bugged me, is like, well, because of her kids. I'm like, you can't. I don't see her as a bad guy that way, because she's trying to do what she's doing for her. Because she wants to have her kids back. It's like, how can you say she's the bad person for that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it'd be different if it was some juvenile thing or just straight pure evil. But she wasn't evil. It wasn't some evil intention. She just wanted her kids back. She wanted to have her kids again.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can understand that. That's a different motive than, I didn't really see her as a bad guy. Yeah, she was doing it in an evil way or a bad way, but
but
love does crazy shit to people.
Yeah, but then I know people are saying, "Oh, Kang should be the next big bad. Why are they bringing him in Ant-Man?" I'm like, honestly, I would save Kang for Loki season 2. That's just me, because given what happened with the TVA and the timeline,
I mean, if you're gonna do that. I don't know if that's gonna be the big bad, but you could easily bring in Galactus.
Yeah,
you could do something even more. I don't know. At this point,
I would even save Galactus for the end. Like, when we know there's going to come a time where the MCU ends, Galactus could be that guy, because he literally eats planets and destroys planets. It doesn't get bigger than that. I mean, yeah, Thanos erased half the universe. For now, that's the biggest thing you're ever going to see.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to top that, and I don't think they can.
You can't,
because of how big they went.
Yeah,
and maybe
I think that was by design.
And maybe you should have held that off for a later time and done not something as big, because how are you going to go bigger than that?
You can't.
I mean,
yes, maybe the X-Men versus Avengers crossover. It's not going to be the same now, given for obvious reasons, because you're not going to get Tony and Cap. But
so, speaking of that, now that I'm thinking of Guardians of the Galaxy. I wonder who they're going to do the bad in that movie.
Yeah. Because Thanos is dead, and they're, going back to traveling. And I've heard this is it for Guardians. I have heard that.
Yeah, I can see them ending it because I know Dave is done is
Drax.
Drax, and he was sad about it, but it's got to end somewhere.
Yeah.
I think they've got a lot to figure out in how they want to do the big overall bad and bring everybody in like they did before.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're not going to do that.
You're not going to talk, because I think Feige has said you're never getting Endgame again. Like, if you're expecting everybody to come together like this at one time, you're never going to see that again. Like, you're not going to see Captain America, Wolverine, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Cyclops. You're never going to see everybody standing together at the same time again like that. You might get it with X-Men versus Avengers if it happens, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, not at this point, since they've kind of done away with some of the main characters like Cap and Tony. You could, but I don't think it'd be the same. At least the way I'm thinking about it. But
I think I'm looking forward to the Young Avengers. I'm looking forward to Vision being back as part of the West Coast Avengers, because he is going to be back, I think, Paul Bettany.
Yeah, I think he'll be back. They did give a little bit of him, and they need to do more because he kind of was there, then he's gone. And, there's a bunch of stuff, but we'll go over that in a later video.
Yeah, because I don't think there's really much to add right now, other than, honestly, so far, I'm not impressed with Phase 4. Overall, I'm really not.
I mean, it's average.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to just introduce more characters, but they're trying to figure out who to introduce.
I'm going to ask this last question before we go. Okay, what would you do to pick it up?
What would I do? Let's see. What would I do? I would...
what would you do to make it be like, oh my God, you got to go out of your way to see this? Like, because we haven't had that other than Spider-Man and Wanda.
I would bring in Miles Morales as Spider-Man, which I think they're doing, and do and kind of expand on that, and maybe I know that a lot of that territory is still owned by Sony, which sucks.
Yeah,
because I would love to see the Fantastic Four. Well, yeah, I would love to see them, but the Sinister Six.
Yeah,
and have them redoing that and do more of a
because they freaking
do Rhino the right way. This stupid machine crap. And in the comics, he was just this big hulking dude in a suit.
And they freaking teased it. They freaking teased it in the X-Men movies that, like, oh, Mr. Sinister's coming. We've never seen him. I'm like, can we get him in here? Can we get the Sinister Six?
Yep. I mean, I think they could do more with Shang-Chi because they did his origin.
And they did say he'll be back.
The way they did the 10 rings in the movie was actually kind of lackluster because they're more powerful in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually rings, not like rings as like this kind of rings, like finger rings.
Yeah. And
they have each one is a different power, and you could use them, but
they didn't do that.
No, I mean maybe they could fix it where he could shrink them down and use them as rings. That would be different. Who knows? But yeah.
Yeah, thus far, Marvel needs to pick it up because I'm not that impressed. I mean, what's next? Okay, She-Hulk and then Wakanda.
Yeah,
I think are the next big two.
Lackluster.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to She-Hulk, obviously, but thus far, I'm not that impressed. I think Marvel.
What I would actually like to see, if you can expand on it, is bring in the Red Hulk.
Yeah, because I know
because that would be awesome, and then you could do more with that aspect of Marvel with Hulk.
And I know William Hurt, rest in peace. I know he passed. It's sad that we're not going to get him as Red Hulk because I honestly thought that that's where they were going, but now they'll have to figure out what to do.
You could, if you really wanted to, bring back Sam Elliott because it's not canon, but I think that was the one thing about the movie I liked was Sam Elliott's version of Thaddeus.
Mm-hmm.
In that movie was him as Thaddeus because he worked really well. You bring him back if you wanted to. He would work as Thunderbolt. What else? You could do because they kind of hinted at it in the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. What the hell is his name?
Abomination.
Well, yes, but the other guy.
What's his face?
He's like, she's supposed to be super smart. I know the name.
Yeah, it'll come back. It'll come back.
He's got like it infects his brain, so he's like super, super smart. And he still turns green because it's essentially a mutation of his blood, from his blood.
Yeah. But I know what you mean.
yeah, you kind of see it at the end of the movie where Samuel Stearns gets a little bit of the blood and cut of his head, and his brain starts to. The leader.
Yeah, the leader.
The leader.
Yeah.
They could do that as an intern bad guy. I think that would be kind of cool because you could bring in more of the Hulk storyline, which I would love to see.
I want Hulk to get. I want Hulk to get his own. I want Mark Ruffalo to get his own movie.
To get his due to be. Because right now they're kind of doing him dirty and making him look weak, and he is not weak.
Nah.
No.
Hulk should theoretically be the one that the Avengers should even have to fight at some point. I think.
I mean, they did it in the little animated short where he was a brief stint as Professor Hulk, and then eventually Hulk's personality took over, and he was just like, and he did end up fighting everybody after they took care of Ultron. I think was it Ultron?
Yeah, when
Something
they were
like
fighting him, and then like he's like, okay, Tony's like, we gotta fight Hulk if we have to, and he did. So yeah, I'd like to see World War Hulk. I'd like to see what they're gonna do with like the X-Men eventually, because we know it's coming. They played the damn theme in Miss Marvel, so we know it's going to happen. Guys got to be patient. But, yeah, thus far, Marvel's got to do something to wow me because I haven't really been that impressed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the best one so far in this phase is...
No Way Home and Wanda have been the best
No Way Home. I forgot about No Way Home. No Way Home is probably the best one. I don't know if that's considered...
Yeah, if you take Feige out of it, I wouldn't consider it, but since it does technically
But I guess you can say Phase 4 because they did kind of look into the multiverse there, and they went to Multiverse of Madness, so yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
But if you're talking Feige, it's Endgame. Endgame is the peak. But if you're talking Sony's equation, yeah, it's going to be No Way Home.
I mean, Sony's been hitting stinkers. Morbius, I haven't even seen that one yet.
Yeah.
Carnage wasn't bad.
Yeah, Venom and Carnage weren't bad movies.
It wasn't bad. But they're going to have to do more, especially Sony, if they want to keep that. They expand on the Spider-Man universe in itself. They've got to do more.
I am looking forward to the cartoon, though, of the Spider-Verse. That's going to be good.
Yeah, part 2, I guess is what it is. That'll be good.
Anyway, guys, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
I'm DOZ.
I'm GR81.
Thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Yep.
We're out.